Hey guys, my name is Matimeo, and today I want to take a look at the new and improved RPK-74m light machine gun. Admittedly, you don't see this very often on the battlefield right now. There are some people that swear by it. This is their preferred light machine gun for long-range combat, and it does the job decently well, but for the most part, there isn't much of a difference between this and the other RPK-12. Those two guns are practically identical, and for the most part, the 74M version is worse across the board. It has a longer reload time and it has less rounds in its magazine. It does have the benefit that it has slightly less recoil, but these guns are already laser beam-like accurate, and so DICE decided, hey, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have two identical weapons in the game. Let's mix things up. And so right now in the CTE, the RPK-74M could possibly have now turned into one of the best long-range weapons for the support class, hands down. What it really comes down to is that they've increased its damage model across the board. Instead of only doing a measly 24 damage per bullet in close encounter combat, they bumped it up to 30. That is a significant difference, and then at long-range combat, instead of only doing 18 damage per round, they bumped it up to 20. Essentially what this means on the battlefield, what this means in the real world, is that when you're using the new improved RPK, it requires one less round in all circumstances compared to its old version to drop someone from 100% to 0. That's a crazy upgrade. One bullet, as we all know in Battlefield, is going to mean the difference between life and death, and so now that this gun requires one less in every single circumstance, that is an amazing buff. Like, that is just flat out phenomenal. It does come with some drawbacks though. Not all of the changes right now in the CTE for the RPK have been completely rosy, and one of the biggest ones is that you will have to deal with more recoil. Its first shot has been nearly doubled. It was almost non-existent to begin with, so don't worry too much about that double number. It's still very manageable, but you are going to have to deal with a little bit more horizontal recoil. At the end of the day though, this thing is still laser beam-like accurate. Hopefully through the gameplay you have noticed that this thing it has no problem taking people out at a distance, but if you were used to the RPK-74M before the patch and you jump on over to the CTE, you will notice a pretty substantial upgrade in at least its first shot recoil and a little bit more kick to the left and the right. Another nerf that they've added is that its magazine size is being dropped from 46 rounds down to 41. Not really a whole lot of difference here. Like, seriously, 5 rounds isn't going to mean that much of a difference. I mean, 5 rounds could kill someone for you. Like, that could, in some circumstances, be the difference between life and death. But if you have 41 rounds to work with, that's going to give you plenty of time to hopefully dispatch of your enemy, take out the multiple targets that are in front of you, and then go behind cover and reload. You are still going to have to deal with that very lengthy reload animation. If you're not aware, for some reason, the RPK has a crazy long reload time. Its short reload takes 3.3 seconds to go through the entire animation, and if you've gone through all of your rounds, it's going to take you a staggering 4.2 seconds. That is an eternity, especially for something that is not belt-fed. Like, this is not a belt-fed LMG like the M249. This is just your standard magazine. That is a long time to go through that reload animation. And so that is still a drawback of the RPK-74M. It is something that you're going to have to work around, but I don't think that dropping that 5 rounds is going to be the death sentence of this gun. Now, the real question is, do all of these changes all of a sudden make this not only a more viable weapon to use on the battlefield, but a more interesting one? This is what DICE was going for. They wanted to make it feel different compared to its RPK counterpart, and I would say that they nailed it. It really just comes down to that damage and that increase in its recoil, and they also increased its bullet spread a little bit. I should have mentioned that. And right now, when you switch on over to the RPK-12, it doesn't feel like the 74M whatsoever. They're still very accurate, but that damage increase really does set the weapons apart. Some of you might be thinking now, well, why would I ever want to use the RPK-12 now? If they were pretty much identical in the past, the 74M got a huge upgrade, or it's now seen a lot of significant changes, why would I ever want to go back and use this gun? Well, it still has the amazing fact that it's got 60 rounds in its magazine, but what they've also done to it is that they've made it even more accurate than it was. Not only are you going to have to deal with less recoil, but they've reduced its bullet spread as well. This thing is going to be the sniper weapon of the support class. And so for those really, really long range shots and for that pinpoint-like accuracy, the RPK-12 is going to be the better of the two. But if you're looking for a gun that's going to be more viable in not only close and medium range combat because of the higher damage model, but still excel at long range combat, then the 74M is going to be the preferred RPK of choice. Another thing that DICE is testing right now on the CTE, which easily applies to this weapon, is that they're experimenting with the headshot multiplier, the headshot damage. It always felt weird when you were 2 feet away from an enemy using an assault rifle to put 2 bullets into his face and him not die from 100% to 0. He could be alive and kicking. You could lose a firefight after putting those 2 rounds directly into his face simply because it didn't do enough damage. It seems like DICE also thought this was a little weird, and so they bumped up that headshot multiplier for pretty much every single weapon. What this means on the battlefield is that if you are already an amazing player, you're gonna love these changes. If you already get headshots back to back, well, this makes your life a lot easier because you're gonna do more damage with this headshot multiplier. What it also means, though, is that weapons like the RPK or anything that has very little recoil and bullet spread, they are now going to be a more viable pick simply because if you're able to line up those headshots on an enemy, all of your bullets are going to land right there and you're going to be able to drop them faster. It is going to be interesting to see how people react to these changes because I think it's without saying that the skill gap's going to increase. The people that are already amazing at the game or the people that go and rely on headshots, well, they're of course going to do better. And the people that may go for body shots and they may not feel comfortable landing headshots consistently, they're going to struggle a little bit more. Overall, in my eyes, I think that this is a good thing. I think having depth to your game and rewarding headshots and rewarding skill is good for a competitive first-person shooter. I like these changes, but there might be some growing pains, there might be some adjustment that a lot of people have to make in Battlefield 4. But overall, I am loving what DICE has done to the RPK-74M. I don't think that everyone is all of a sudden going to say that this is the overpowered light machine gun for the support class, because let's be honest, it has a slow RPM and is not going to all of a sudden just dominate the battlefield, or I'd be very surprised if that was the case, but it feels unique. Mission accomplished on that one, DICE. It feels completely different than it did in the past. It feels different compared to its RPK-12 counterpart, and in general, I am loving what they've done to it. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's look at the new and improved RPK-74M. I hope you enjoyed. I should mention that this was all taken on the CTE. This hasn't gone live yet, and it is subject to change, but since we are nearing the spring patch, I would be very surprised if they made any large sweeping changes after this. I have a feeling this is what it's going to be like when the patch goes live. But let me know what you think about all of these adjustments. Was this your favorite gun? Are you disappointed that they made these large sweeping changes? Would you have rather them left it the way that it was? Let me know down below. But yeah, guys, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.